Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here at D&H. We're looking forward to chatting this afternoon with some industry experts on ProAV and what this field really means to us in our modern day events that are going on and how we can support our communities as resellers and as distribution partners. And certainly want to introduce our guest speakers today, and then we'll get into it. We have a few questions that I'd like to pose to our panelists, and then let them share a little bit about what they know and hopefully help you as our reseller community and our partners in building out some practices that really build the ProAV message into what you offer your partners and your clients. So with that, first I'd like to introduce a very special guest joining us today is Jonathan Braun from Braun Consulting. He is he's definitely personally he's the principal of Braun Consulting, one of the principals of Braun Consulting, and he's a very, very much respected voice of the AV and digital signage industry. And he has a long and highly regarded personal history in the AV and digital signage space too, most recently being recognized as AVIXA's Educator of the Year in this past AVIXA in 2020. So Jonathan, welcome. I'll go through all the introductions first, and then we'll allow each of our presenters, panelists, to say hello, and then we'll get into questions. So next up, we have Sarah Gormley. She's our field sales manager of the VAR organization here at D&H. We're very excited to have her on board. She has many years of experience working with and supporting our reseller community, and leads our field organization. She and her team, they're really responsible for bringing the message to the street to our reseller partners and in offering profitable solutions that make good business sense for you. We also have our ProAV Solutions Architect, Jason Frigidy. He has many years of ProAV experience with just various views of the business as our design engineer here at D&H, but also being in the reseller community and part of installation and speccing out projects and hands-on experience himself. So 3 amazing resources to talk with today and really build in some ideas that might help you in your business. And myself, I'm Amy Schwartz. I am our Senior Vendor Business Manager in the ProAV space, and also bring a few years of background in both ProAV and distribution, and really look forward to leading some questions today and sharing some information with everybody. So with that, I'm actually going to look down at my notes on my desk, so I apologize for taking my eyes off the show here, but I have some notes that I'll read and help keep me on track. Actually, I will pause again, I'm sorry. So Jonathan and Sarah and Jason, in that order, if you would say hi and maybe another minute of a little bit about yourself, and then we'll jump into questions. So
Well,
Jonathan.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate it. And thanks to the D&H team for inviting me to be here today. I greatly appreciate that as well. And for all of you out in audience land, we appreciate your time. I know how tough it is to carve out time for all of us to have these kinds of discussions, but I hope that we can give you some great information and that we can get some great questions. So get those ready for us. We're going to be looking forward to it. But I'm just really thrilled to be here. As Amy said, I've been working here in commercial audiovisual for almost 30 years. Yes, really. I know I don't look that old. Fat fills the wrinkles really well. And my father didn't believe in child labor laws. So what are you going to do? He gets tired of that joke. But hey, you know, it's been almost 30 years. He should be used to working with me by now. Bad jokes included. I'll apologize for those in advance, by the way, folks. They're not getting better. That's what you're going to get throughout the time with me. Sorry. But yeah, been doing this a while and looking forward to sharing what insight I can with everyone. So thank you.
Hi, Amy. Thanks for having me on today. And I would say that you have a few years in distribution. I think we go back quite a ways. Really glad to be here today. You know, definitely this year has been interesting for a field sales organization and how we've pivoted in the way we operate, the way we sell, the way we're managing the business. But it has been a phenomenal year. Our numbers are just, you know, better. They get better every month and more than what we've expected. So it's been a good year for the VAR sales organization. I think, we've got some relevant examples here that we can talk about that what we're seeing with our resellers. I'm really excited to be here.
All right, thank you. And Jason?
Thanks, Amy. Hi, my name is Jason Frigidy. I'm the solutions architect for ProAV here at D&H. And I've been here for coming up on 3 years to support our resellership and their assistance in building out solutions. Since D&H is much more of an IT-focused reseller or IT-focused reseller distributor to reseller groups, I support them in putting together ProAV solution practices. So that involves pretty much what we're going to talk about today, but anything that is used for either collaboration or local content sharing or audio management of a space and how it all works together and putting all of the different vendors that we offer into those solutions. So I'm available to get on calls with our resellers and their end users as well to support those solutions designs as they come in. Back to you, Amy.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Again, I really do appreciate it. And well, I guess the secret's out. Our community is quite small and well connected. And when you've been in the industry for a while, you can't hide how long you've been here. So yes, myself, I have a few decades of background as well. But then again, Jonathan, I started at age 8, so I don't know. I guess same thing with child labor laws. And Jonathan, I've always been entertained by your jokes, so just keep them coming. Always make me smile. We have to smile. We're all in this together. So with that, I'll jump into some questions I have. And like I mentioned, I'm just going to look down at my notes while I ask these questions. First one I have here. As we continue to move forward during this time of social distancing and keeping our communities healthy, people still do want to get out and be social in a safe manner. We see outdoor dining, curbside pickup and retail, and then even stationary medical tents outdoor for testing and prepping for appointments. ProAV solutions are really enhancing that outdoor experience and providing much needed information. So Jonathan, what are you seeing from an industry perspective in this area? And how can our partners position themselves to support their own communities through professional AV solutions?
That is such a great question to start with, Amy. And I really do appreciate that one, because it really is easy with the situation we find ourselves in today to get a little hung up on doom and gloom, like, oh goodness, as a whole, the industry's down a few percentage points per the studies that Avixa and other industry groups like the NSCA are doing. And certain resellers may be doing very well, but others may be struggling a bit. And so it's easy to get caught up in that negativity, but it doesn't have to be that way, because while certain aspects of our business, like the traditional indoor conference rooms and things like that we've done as a whole, auditoriums, the whole events industry, if you didn't have a project in play beforehand, has kind of come to a halt, just unfortunately due to the situation we're in today. But that's starting to transition over to other projects as we take our lives and we move them outdoors. That's very kind of important right now here in Southern California, where we're moving into another tier of the COVID situation where they're starting to shut down indoor operations again. And so now businesses are looking at, wait a minute, how do I prepare to go outdoors so I can take my dining? I've seen salons setting up tents and camp sinks and things so they can go and move. Hey, you can get your hair done outdoors where it's safer. You pointed out medical, that's an important one. And all aspects of things like digital signage outdoors are becoming important, where now if we look at it, I can use it for informing my potential customers of services, stock levels. If I'm going to wait in an 8-hour line at Costco to get toilet paper, I'd like to know that they have stock of what I'm looking for before I get inside the building, right? So having a digital sign right there at the front, that's driven more kiosk situations where we've got portable signs, even battery-powered signs. We're seeing greater launches of outdoor products from a display standpoint to make that more practical, which is driving an increase in CMS software sales. So all of this creates an opportunity where I can inform, think about the great transition in QSR, where if you're a QSR, whether you're a giant multinational corporation or your local mom and pop, you're looking long and hard at digital menu boards for your drive-through, because now that's over 90% of your business where it used to be over half, sure, but now it's the majority of where you're
Right.
wanting to have curbside pickup. I saw a cool product the other day, a smart locker that has digital signage embedded in the front where you can walk up with your phone and using a QR code so you don't have to touch anything, be able to grab your food or your retail order without having to interact with a person. And I guess maybe we've all kind of gone back to grade school where I'm terrified of you because you do have cooties. But the reality is there are great opportunities there that we can capitalize on. We just have to adjust our thinking a little bit to applying digital signage in new ways. Physical security with access control and with things like occupancy management, knowing go, no go for how many people are in a space, reminders of social distancing, reminders of mask wearing and hygiene, even the ubiquitous, and everybody's doing them these days, the sanitizer station with the digital sign on it. It's another opportunity to help get our messaging out. And we as the ProAV community can really actually benefit not only our customers, but their customers by applying this technology today.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Definitely captures a lot of the essence of what's going on out there and how we can support the community with ProAV. And actually, Jason, some of the things that I heard Jonathan talk about leads me to ask you about the projects. I know he mentioned there's been a change in the type of projects that we had been working on as things started to change in our world. So curious what, if you can tell us what type of projects you're seeing requests, what type of projects are you seeing requests for in this area? And who are some of our vendor partners that you'd recommend to support building out that outdoor AV solution?
Thanks, Amy. So a lot of the requests that I have really come down to we piggybacking off of what Jonathan said about digital signage is also being sort of spun into a creation of more of also a health safety messaging. So it's nothing new. It has been used in healthcare and other practices for many years, but now it's becoming more widespread because of the request for it. Same with the cloud services, such as the CMS management use case that Jonathan also mentioned. So we have a lot of different vendors that we use for outdoor applications, Samsung and LG being two of the ones that I expect the most in those categories, where they have IP rated outdoor certified products. So it's for wind, for rain, for cold, for moisture, dust resistance and such like that. So those products can be outside, no different than if you ever gone through a drive-through at like a McDonald's. You'll see digital signage panels. So they make them in all different sizes, not just the larger ones, but they make smaller ones, medium-sized ones, and any different one to an extent that you're looking for. We even can obviously do outdoor video wall solutions as well. Really, it just comes down to the sort of the goal of the request. And then what I do is I help put together not just the panels, but also the mounting solutions for it, because all the products obviously has to be put on a structure in some way. They're mounted to a wall or on a pedestal product or hanging from the ceiling or an overhang. There's so many different ways to do it. So we do offer those products from a few different vendors. Crimson AV and Chief from Legrand are two of the ones that we offer in that category. And then when it comes to digital signage use cases for these type of solutions, every different reseller doesn't have the ability to support a very inclusive management service. Even if you're offered like so many tools in the toolkit, you might only need a few of them. So what we try to do is match up the goal of the solution to the amount of content, signage, and support that you need. So we do have products from Samsung for like Magic Info, and we have ones from Airtame, which is a more user-friendly, direct to the reseller or an end user to support. And they both have that cloud platform management. But that's just two of many that we do offer. So it really just comes down to spending the time to, I guess, break down what they're looking for. It doesn't hurt to always request budget, because we always, no matter what, we want the goal first, but we need to also have awareness that we do spend the time putting together a solution, that it's just, it's not within reason that at this time that they're able to support it. And this doesn't mean just for private industry, but for, education, for public sector, and then we have a lot of different government entities that I've supported as well for these type of requests, and down to like just townships and boroughs are looking for them, not cities or federal or government and defense. Those are just as viable as well, but we're getting a lot of ones that are, since we work a lot with these smaller resellerships, we do have a lot of that communication for those requests when it comes to local gov and for education for that support. So that definitely helps out a lot. Like I said, it's really around signage, safety messaging, and then putting those physical hardware pieces in place to support it.
Well, excellent. Thank you very much. And actually, as far as our ProAV line card here at D&H, I know that's one of the resources that are shared in this presentation, and also can be found on our website, dnh.com/ProAV. So Sarah, I want to ask you how things look on the reseller side. How do you see your typical SMB reseller embracing this type of opportunity? And how do you feel our resources line up with helping your partners, including those that may not have even had a focus in ProAV in the past?
I think it goes very well. Jonathan, thank you for the comments on what you're seeing in the industry. I think that it lines up with exactly what we're seeing at the reseller level. Right now we're seeing opportunities in education. I spend a lot of time with our K-12 advisory committee, K-12 resellers, higher education resellers. We're definitely seeing digital signage opportunities on campuses and higher learning. And we're also seeing and in discussions right now with K-12 around outdoor learning. So a lot of these school districts are trying to figure out, I think the first phase of COVID was just getting people operational, right? Getting students able to learn and set up to continue functioning at some level. Now we're seeing the next wave of, okay, we're operational, but how do we optimize? How do we, run our schools the way we need to? So we are definitely seeing digital signage opportunities on campuses, as well as, that outdoor K-12. We're also seeing it in healthcare. Definitely even in the SMB space, just around healthcare. And I deal with a lot of federal resellers. They're more on the smaller side to medium-sized federal reseller that now the federal government is absolutely consuming video conferencing, and there's opportunities. The thing I've seen, Amy, that's been surprising the most to me in this time is, this may not be the core of our resellers' business, but they've really been able to pivot and adopt and move in that direction with our help. We have great resources between our ProAV team and Jason, and we're really able to fill the gaps of where our reseller may be lacking in a technical resource or in a sales resource. How does this look? What does the solution look like? How do we go and present it and sell it to our end user? So I definitely have seen successes multiple times and in different ways, and really not the normal way we'd see it.
Okay, well, thank you. That's great to know that you're getting the support you need from the ProAV team and Jason on the technical side. Well, I'm going to run to another area that we'd like to talk about too. Right now, we are all living, breathing, and working in this new blended work from anywhere world, and all indications are that we're going to be doing so in some form for a long time. In fact, we are hearing that many employers will build in longer-term plans for a hybrid workplace. School systems, I know you called out school education, Sarah. School systems will be more prepared for remote learning, and telemedicine will have more sophisticated ways of supporting our health needs from the safety of our homes. Jason, we've discussed this quite a bit as a team, how many of the home offices, businesses, and school systems are now starting to refresh their technology for the long term with better equipment and even more ergonomic setups. What type of AV products are you recommending for some of these technical upgrades?
Thanks, Amy. So I could say the biggest word that I've provided and spoke to a lot of resellers about end users is the word agnostic. So the request really is there are so many different cloud service support conferencing solutions out there for using for meetings, for using for educational distance learning. So obviously the largest ones are like WebEx and Zoom and Microsoft Teams. So being able to have a solution that supports all of them has been pretty much one of the largest requests that I've had. Most of them have not been based around, well, I just want one to support either, one cloud service. They want a solution that supports all of them. So a lot of the designs that I've been doing is around creating an agnostic approach to a conferencing environment. So that's pretty much just putting together camera products, microphone products, and playback audio products within a space, depending either if it's just a small single personal room or an auditorium based. It doesn't matter. We can put all of those components in place and break it down to just a USB connection that connects to any computer product. And I've used ones that work just fine, obviously, on Windows, ones that are designed to work on Mac, ones that work on Chrome. So pretty much any of the current large OS services out there, everything is just universal USB. So that has been probably one of the biggest requests that I've had in most of the designs that I've been pushing out there. So if we can do it down to like just a small conference bar, up to PTZ cameras and ceiling speakers, pendant microphones or microphone arrays has been a large thing. A lot of the companies too, the resellers, they're looking for also a solution that is not in your face. They want something that's more hidden and more obscure. We want the classroom to look no different technology-wise other than what's necessary. So a lot of the solutions that I'm putting together are based on speaker products that fit in with ceiling tiles. Same with microphone units that are microphone array, lobe arrays. Clear One is one of the brands that I provide those solutions for. So they have microphone arrays that just fits the place of a 2x2 ceiling tile, and you don't see anything hanging from the ceiling. And what it does is it makes, especially in an educational space, makes it a lot more, doesn't seem any different for the people in the room, and it helps the educator out because they don't, a lot of people when they do conferencing, especially in an open environment, they want to have sort of a focus point where they need to talk to or something like that or look to. So a lot of these solutions allow for, they can just walk around the room normally, and then we can even have tracking camera products as well at different levels, either a very basic tracking camera, a medium quality tracking, or a true on tracking camera service that can capture the person walking back and forth professionally. So we do offer all of these solutions. Vadio is the one that we use mostly for the higher end camera products, while we have Aver as a very good value solution that we can have in that category level, as well as Clear One also has some camera products too that they use a really good USB and HDBaseT connection for, IP streaming camera connection. So there's so many different ways you can do it. I could probably talk for hours on end about it as well, but I do spending with resellers to make them more comfortable with it. And that's sort of what I try to do at the end, is to give them a comprehensive bill of materials. Here's all the products, as well as support those requests for professional services for the integration and managed service agreements that we can offer through agnostic support service providers that we work with. So have done projects where I've put together all the solutions. D&H provided all the materials to them, had a third-party augmented service provider go in and install everything, as well as provide documented drawings for the installation, and also remote configuration of all the equipment, and then on-site training and handoff to the end user. So they're very happy. It's something that normally in distribution, we don't do it's not as inclusive as that. A lot of them are just selling services to put some TVs up, but we do have the availability to sell you, almost no differently than if you have a AV integrator perform those services.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, hear a lot of things in your message there, and the agnostic portion of it. I mean, we really need to make sure the experience in the classroom or in the office translate seamlessly to the environment we're all working from in our home spaces now too. So definitely really important to pay attention to that and make sure products on both ends all communicate well and seamlessly. Sarah, I wanted to ask you, are your resellers asking for support in upgrading their clients' workspaces or even their own in-house products? And how can our ProAV team help them with the right solutions to stay connected as we move into this new wave of video conferencing and telecommunications?
Absolutely. I think Jason said it well around agnostic. Not only, are we seeing that seamless type of, I'm going from working in my office to working at home. And again, that transition from I'm operational to I want the same technology I had in my office. I want that same experience in my home, because for some of these resellers we're working with, they're working with large Fortune 500 end users that are they're not going back into the office. They will be working from home permanently. So we're in that transitional and have been in that transitional phase of helping our resellers with helping their customers get the technology that fits the needs of their home offices. As well as I would tell you in education, totally agree with Jason. And I think if, for the resellers that are on here listening, we probably don't promote and sell ourselves well around the technical resources that Jason can bring just to be able to do the drawings and the bill of materials. We provide that as a support to you. And I can tell you firsthand with my reseller community, when it's utilized, it is a good experience all the way around, because it's not as simple as I need a Chromebook and I need this Chromebook to go into this classroom. It's being able to really comprehensively look at what does the learning experience look like, and it's ever changing and evolving in the classroom. So I think we're definitely seeing it on both ends of the spectrum, from work from home, from the classroom. Just the way people are collaborating and communicating these days, in government agencies. We work a lot with state, local, and federal agencies with resellers that support them. So I definitely seeing that. I think, for those on this webinar that haven't utilized our technical pre-sale support, it's right up there. And Jason's one of the best out there around that ProAV space.
Thank you. Yes, indeed he is. We're fortunate to have him on our team, for sure. So Jonathan, what are you seeing as the next wave of work from anywhere type of solutions? Where should our reseller community be focused, and what can we do as a distributor to support them as we begin to make our remote offices more permanent?
Well, I'm going to borrow a couple of words because you used a great one, Amy, seamless. And I have to 150% agree with Jason. Agnostic is really where it's at. And I do a lot of design work as well, much like our good colleague, Mr. Friggedy here. That's a really key aspect, by the way, of support that I want to make sure that I echo. Sarah made a brilliant point with that for those of you out there who you get these opportunities because the demand is there for these work from home or work from anywhere solutions. And if you don't feel comfortable handling it, reach out to your partners, work through your distributor. They can help you. Don't turn down the opportunity because your customers really need that help. And frankly, I don't think any of us can afford to turn down a PO these days. So what we're really seeing is, and I love how Jason outlined it, we're seeing that move to, I want a device where I can take my laptop, and I've worked remotely for a very long time. My company, Braun Consulting, is 16 years old, and through this firm, plus my previous company where I was doing home theater work here in San Diego, I've always worked remotely pretty much. And so I'm used to it, but I've been enjoying what's evolved. And for many of us, it's not seamlessly easy to be at home, to deal with distractions, to deal with the technical aspects. So there's a lot of things that go into it. We're going to see more concern about lighting, where, hey, I may have a couple of fill lights that I do, but I do these kinds of presentations more often. And we're going to see that kind of discussion where how do I optimize not just I've got a good screen, not just I've got a good camera, but I've got a good set of lighting. I'm looking more at like chroma key so that you aren't dealing with just the virtual background in Zoom, where I actually put up a green screen so I get a better experience. And then I can help kind of make my space more multi-purpose. But those are all details. The bottom line really comes down to, I have to have a system where I can take my laptop and I can work here and I can unplug it one USB cable. I can go work in, my living room, or I can go sit out in my backyard, or I go to my local coffee shop and I'm sitting outside just because I have to get away because I'm going stir crazy being cooped up in this house, where I go and I'm sitting out in the patio and I'm 10 feet away from everybody else and I need to be able to seamlessly work. So that requires upgrades in, and Jason covered it all: cameras, audio, and not just the big rooms, but even here where you have to, in your home office, have a decent system that's unobtrusive but that works. We're past the time where you can get away with the webcam in your laptop and the microphone in your laptop. Sorry, guys, if any of you are using those, my apologies. But you can't get away with it anymore. We have to have high quality communications because this is our interpersonal connection now. And I want everything to work. And it's becoming bring your own device. It's bring your own platform. I want everything to be seamless. If I do go into a space, as we start looking at hybridized offices, all of my clients are talking about doing things like chopping up big conference rooms into smaller spaces, removing some of the equipment and going to something simplified where, like Jason outlined, it's one USB, which is great, or even wireless, where it's like, I don't know if that was cleaned before, and I don't want to touch it unless I know it's safe. So being able to walk in and I'm touching my laptop, which I know is safe. Well, at least I should hope it's safe. If it's not, that's shame on me. Drop that down and I'm able to work and I'm able to communicate. And I need to have that experience where I get the same quality calling on a day-to-day meeting as I do speaking with all of you here today. And so that really is important. And hopefully we're going to see more interoperability among platforms, where it's going to, again, further into, and I'm going to keep on that word because I love it. Yes, Jason, you get credit for it, agnostic. So I think that's really, really important. And that's kind of the next big trend. So unfortunately, Jason got away with stealing a bunch of my thunder I was going to talk about, but that's okay. He's more than welcome to it because it's a great point. And yes, I will stop sucking all the air out of the room now. It's a miracle I can do that over video conference, but hey, we make it work.
Yes, Jonathan, we sure do. And it's good to know that you and Jason are on the same page. I think that's very reassuring for all of us out here listening and learning from you both. So good news there. Thank you. And you mentioned too about the new interconnection between us as humans. My gosh, I've said this in other webcasts as well as with my team, multiple times, that this new way of communicating, we're in each other's homes now. We're in each other's living rooms, dens, offices, kitchen tables. We know each other's dogs, cats, delivery men, spouses. It's a whole new way of doing business. And in some ways, it may have brought us all closer together. We may not be sitting over a cup of coffee together, or I don't know, Jonathan, maybe over a beer together somewhere, but it's still we see each other like this, and we hear each other's voices and get to know tones and personalities. And it's really, if anything good's come out of all of this, one, we're in an industry where we get to help people by allowing and supporting that kind of connectivity and connection, and two, we really do get to maintain that humanness with each other. Albeit we, I think, are a little burned out and tired from back-to-back calls, video calls, and the new being video ready. Nobody knows what pants or shoes we have on these days, but if any, of course. But it is a new way, and again, I feel very blessed that we're in an industry to support that and allow us to keep going on in the community. So I have another question. So now I'm sucking all the air, aren't I now, Jonathan? We're good competition for each other. So I have another question here. Or just some comments and questions. So we have so much to offer through technology that keeps our communities connected, which I guess I just chatted on, allowing for larger gatherings with safe social distancing, obviously very important. And that requires bigger displays, louder audio output, projectors that fit any environment, and the video gear to capture the moments to be shared online, both in real time and to enjoy for later viewing. These venue type solutions often mix with a broadcast and streaming needs that keep us informed and allowing us to celebrate important events. So I'm thinking of the big venues, the house of worships, the school events that I know graduation season, we got to graduate outside with a stage and a screen behind it in our cars. Sarah, I'm curious, will you please tell us how you see our resellers embracing these new technical needs of their communities and how you feel we at D&H can support them with these larger projects?
One, Jonathan, I'm using my camera and my microphone
Oops.
on my computer, and I may or may not have UGG slippers on. I'm just saying. I may or may not. We gotta have a little fun. This is getting for all of us road warriors out there that have spent our entire careers on the road. There are moments of where this is okay and we adjust. But you know what we're seeing from our reseller community in this right now in the K-12 space, it's streaming those events, right? So the plays aren't happening, or the choir, or the band, or sporting events, right? So we're seeing the requests coming across for how do I stream it? How does this look? What is this? Schools are making investments. And I did see a question come across from Rodney about esports. Absolutely, we're seeing a surge back into esports, and we can come back around that in the Q&A, as well as House of Worship, right? When so there is, we are seeing opportunities. Again, I would tell you, leverage us and our technical resources, our specialists. We have a fantastic team of specialists. And I think those are the resellers that win in this game. The ones I've seen be successful and be able to change their business model. They might not have been ProAV practices in previous life, but they absolutely know how to leverage resources around them to complete the solution. And that's what we're seeing right now is they're asking about the opportunities. There is growth in this space. We are absolutely seeing some above average growth happening in ProAV and the SMB, and we're really in mid-market as well. And it's because these resellers are asking and leveraging the resources around them.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. And I do believe, too, we're trying to do our best on the vendor management side of the house, making sure we have enough stock and we're bringing in the right inventory and those products that fit the needs in this new world. So that's something we're constantly staying connected with our vendor community and taking input from the resellers in projects that are coming up. Again, Jason and his team, with the things they see from the project level, allow myself and our team to make sure we're bringing in and having the right products to fill those needs. And then Sarah, I think I've seen this too, where D&H does a great job really supporting the reseller community from credit lines and making sure we have those credit facilities available to allow for safe investments in building out these solutions.
Amy, a couple things
Sure.
on that. I would tell you, as we navigate, product constraints, I think Jason would, attest to this, that cameras are very difficult to get, are a hot commodity. And just, overall, we're seeing product constraints in the channel. And just being able to navigate that, we really have open dialogue with our vendors and are able to work with our resellers on projects and, navigate this constraint a product and not having it, as well as I would tell you absolutely on the financial side, we have been able to support opportunities and projects through different programs that we leverage through our credit team that have absolutely been game changers for our resellers to be able to close the business. So definitely resources that we can help with and reach out to us.
All right, thank you for that added note too. Jonathan, so we are definitely seeing several larger community-based projects hit our radar where everything ProAV is bigger, especially in the House of Worship, which we've called out, and esports, like Sarah mentioned, especially in those environments where there is more to see, more to hear, and share. What are some other industry trends that you're expecting to become more important in this area, and how can our resellers get involved in these type of opportunities?
Ooh, another great one. And the obvious one, if you're not already familiar, is going to be the transition over for the large scale displays away from traditional projection and video wall to direct view LED or DVLED, where we're seeing all of these major brands. And it used to be that we had these kind of more boutique brands that were huge, don't get me wrong, but that were focused on DVLED, where we'd have the companies that would oftentimes sell direct to end users or direct to dealers. And now we've got the companies like the Samsungs, the LGs, the NECs that are offering mainstream big brand DVLED as a standard product that's approachable to all of us. And that really comes from, I need large, I need bright, I need high quality, and I need it to be seamless. And the big kind of hurdle to entry there was price. But the price per square meter of those types of displays has been dropping dramatically over the last 3 or 4 years, but really over the last 12 to 18 months, because we've had adoption spiking and we've had that increase. And also getting into things like portable displays, which previously were really the realm of rental and staging for live events. But now, where you're talking about a community that may purchase to use for, hey, we need to have a city council meeting and we need to be able to, instead of having people attend it in person, we need to have people be able to attend it outside. Or, and Sarah nailed it with her discussion around streaming, is we're moving all of these things virtually, online. The entire events industry is transitioning to online events where we're doing things like this, where we're communicating and we're collaborating and we're meeting, whether it's a smaller event where I'm getting to talk to some targeted folks who took the time out to go, a big virtual trade show like Infocom or CEDIA, whether it's these things are the really the wave of the future, and basically moving everything to where we're seeing everything moving to IP streaming, so that I can have my infrastructure be more flexible, whether it's a camera, whether it's audio, so that I get rid of so much of the complexity. And I can say, look, I don't have to worry about distance. I don't have to worry about, like, hey, multiple audio outputs. So that was a great question from the audience. You know, we need multiple audio out instead of louder audio. You do, because it's not just let me go put bigger concert speakers up there and blast the poor people in the front row. I need to distribute my audio. I need to distribute my video. Maybe I don't have the budget to do one huge DVLED screen, so I might take advantage of some of the smaller prices on large format displays, like maybe a bunch of 80-inch displays that I distribute video to in a unified system. So we have to think about that and think outside the box a little bit too. And I like Jason's point earlier about budget, that I always try to start with the objectives first as well. What are you looking to accomplish? But then what are you really looking to spend? And obviously we all in the trade know that the answer is always cheap. And what can we do to value engineer it? And how can we make it less expensive? And sure, we all know that. But the reality is, what can you really afford is going to help guide what products I might recommend. And so we have to think more flexibly. We've got to really rely on that IT infrastructure now for distribution. We're moving everything into streaming, and the displays that we're working with are changing a lot. I'm not an audio guy. I'll defer to Jason on that one. So sorry to not set you up for anything there, buddy, but I'll defer to Jason on all the audio stuff, because you don't want me designing a distributed audio system. I'm a video guy, but I think it's really important to see that kind of shift in the products we're looking at and how we implement them in that space.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks, Jonathan. Jason, to keep going forward and kind of taking the lead from Jonathan, will you please share some examples of these larger community-based projects that have come across your desk, or that you've offered support through design and building out through a bill of materials, and including products from our ProAV line card? And actually, I think I heard you talk about on one of our team calls about a recent large esports project where there was a video wall involved, and kind of hits a lot of what we've just talked about.
Thanks, Amy. So we have had done a few different solutions really right around the February of this year, like right before. I did a video distribution with a video wall and display products. So pretty much it was, I believe, a 6 rows and I'm sorry, 6 columns and 2 rows, so they can have a 6-on-6 team match set up in a high school library. So we did the video wall as well as the matrix and management solution for it. Another company was going to do the audio for that setup, but that was something that we did roll out. We sold them all the product. I believe they were NEC for the displays, and A10 was the matrix management controller for the video wall solution, as well as the signal management. So it was all HD based T, like a closed small setup to me compared to how big they can get. But it was very successful. We even had the vendor send their local engineer. This was in the New Jersey area, and the guy that just so happened only lived about not even a half an hour away from the school where the work was being done. So we were actually able to have the vendor sales engineer direct go out there and commission the system gratis for that application, which was really nice, and got to also work with the integrator that we hired to do that work for them. So that was all through support for the reseller and then for the education for the school. So they were very happy with it, but I can honestly tell you that no one's got in there really to play it that I know of yet. But I really, when they do, I have sort of stayed in touch with them a little to see where they are. They said it's pretty much just sitting idle right now, but definitely wanted to get out there and see it myself. So that's something that'll come up in the future. And we're hoping if it's not this school year, maybe it'll be next school year. It doesn't matter when. I'm a person that's able to, go do it when it's available. So to me, it's really important to connect with our resellers and their end users to make sure those projects are successful. So besides that education one and around esports, I have done a few requests around House of Worship. This literally came down to having a request for an iPhone that was on one of those little grabby arms or one of those little pedestals, and they were using that on the worship leader. And they said, we need to do something better. So we were able to put together a solution tying in with their existing audio system where they had some hanging pendants and a Mackie board driving that content. So one of our companies makes these streaming platform boxes. There are a few different ones out there. A10 is the one that we recommended and I believe sold to them. So this way the audio mix was run into that board, as well as it has an iPad that managed the signal for it. So this is all for doing IP streaming. It uses standard open protocol. So you can either use it for YouTube streaming or you can use it for Twitch streaming. So it's sort of like a tool that gives you that agnostic approach, like I said before, the video conferencing, but this is more for that, don't quote me on as like RVSP or something like that. There's so many different terminologies for IP streaming protocols, but it's pretty much designed to support the most common ones. I think it supports like 4 or 5 of them. So, and which is almost the majority of like 80-90% of all the streaming services that they use out there, the major ones. So we were able to put that together, as well as the cameras that feed into it, where they could just use a handheld remote control. Like I said before, it's really about putting together a solution that fits the goal first, and then work with them on a budget, that makes it a reality. So, and we want to make things usable. I don't like over convoluting and providing too many tools if they are only looking for one. As well as we're also looking into solutions to provide distributed audio within an environment. So we're actually working with bringing in one of those vendors that's pretty much the most well-known one in that category. So we can also offer those local share solutions where you just download an app on your phone and anyone can connect to that service, and they could also do it locally within that environment. A lot of it is really built around the design for hearing assist, but now we're taking those tools designed around hearing assist, and now we're making it this, this social distance audio broadcast solution. And that's for that side of it, as well as we can do for the multicast side for the streaming. So you could get both the video and the audio side of it. I always say IP streaming and solutions because broadcast is its own animal by many means. There's people that go to school for 4 years to manage broadcast with bachelor's degrees. And that's something I've actually honestly tried to stay away from a lot. in my career. So we try to support those resellers for those ProAV solutions around like the collaboration end of it and the content sharing end of it, as well as all the different tools for it. Broadcast is its own thing by far. So that's something that D&H currently is just not really focusing on, but we have so many other different bits and tools available as well. Probably ran over. Sorry, Amy. Like I said before, I could probably talk for hours about it and just go into different nits and gritty about it.
Well, thank you. No, I think we all are quite passionate in this category and could equally spend that much time on our own. So all good. And hopefully our reseller community out there realizes and sees how passionate and excited we are to support them in this area. Those were the questions we had set up to talk through today. We are getting some questions from our audience too that I'd like to take a moment and look through those. And just before we get to the questions, just wanted to recap a couple of notes that I took, share with the audience, and just make sure that you know where to go for additional resources as well. Sounds like with the questions coming through, we have an awful lot of interest in. I know I heard Sarah earlier talk about how D&H as a whole is growing in business, and really through these difficult times, because we have the products that are helping you as the reseller support our communities. We're growing as a company, and our ProAV team is growing even a little bit ahead of that curve of the company's natural numbers. So really exciting. And yes, we'd all love to talk with you more, so you can chase us all down. Please jot this down. Our email address to get a hold of the ProAV team is proav@dnh.com. And we do have a mini site too that you can go to on our main dnh.com website that expands a little bit more on our materials. Our line card I mentioned, and I believe it's posted in this presentation, and some of the tools that we have available to you as our partners. A little bit of interest I'm hearing on the esports side of things. We also do have a whole esports division. It's a huge initiative of us, of our company here at D&H. And next week, I'm looking at some notes I have up here on the screen. Next week, we have a live stream session with the High School Esports League, the HSEL, and the links and information on that can be found on our dnh.com or our social media pages. So please, if this was interesting, I would strongly encourage you to take advantage of that next live event with the experts in the esports side of the house. I heard Jason talk about, a project he started earlier in the year. I know that the esports team is seeing some other activities that are still going on and still allowing our youth to participate in a competitive manner through this, again, as we all know, this unique and challenging time from a social aspect. So with that, and actually I jotted down a few words, circled a few words that buzzwords I want to throw out there, and then we'll go to a couple of questions here. So we talked about safety messaging and digital signage. We talked about cloud services and hosting content. We talked about agnostic solutions, and we called out getting to make sure you know your customer's budget. Talked about projection and DV-LED and the future of the larger need for images and sound. Talked about sound and audio distribution and new ways to manage those larger spaces with the gear that we have, and IP streaming. So those are a few of the things I thought I would, and just having a seamless solution. With that, I'm going to scroll over here and look at the questions, and I will throw out to our panelist team. Since I was talking, I didn't get a chance to read all of the questions yet. If there's something on our message board you'd like to jump in and address, I think there was more about esports and certainly some other things. So if anybody would like to jump in from our team.
I'll jump in, Amy, on the device as a service, the DAS question that came through on Rodney. Rodney, thanks for some great questions in the Q&A today. Absolutely, we can, as Jason Bystrick, our vice president, would say, we can DAS anything. Our ability to wrap services, hardware, cloud platform, we can absolutely customize and look at, our DAS program is agnostic to the vendor. We can mix and mix our vendors. It's not vendor, it's our DNH, our branded DAS program. So there is a lot of flexibility within what we can do, and we do see that. While it's been a buzzword in the industry for a couple of years, we are seeing a resurgence in that discussion again, because companies are wanting to pay a monthly fee versus outright buying the hardware up front and services up front. So absolutely reach out to us. We can get you some more information and get you connected with the folks on that team that can really dive into it with you. And absolutely, esports, we're seeing Amy right now through it really did. It was hot and heavy into March. It went kind of quiet. We took the time to really focus on educating our resellers. We definitely have an end-to-end solution around vendors and our relationship with the high school sports esports league. Jason Kirby and folks over there. Check us out, dive in there and ask us some questions, reach out to us, because we are seeing that coming back around now that schools are canceling sports, are not having sporting events. We see schools coming back with budget again around that.
Okay, great. Well, I'm noticing we're coming up on the hour. My gosh, like we've all commented, we could go on forever on all of this. So I would like to just really reach out to our audience and thank you so much for joining us. Whether you're logged into our live stream or checking in on us through social media, we really appreciate your time, your support, and your partnership. And please reach out to us again at our ProAV@dnh.com. We have all of us can give more information or give you whatever attention and time you'd like from us. Jonathan, again, thank you for being our special guest. We really appreciate you coming on board, and we'll have time again in the future to sit down and sample some more beers together. I know that's something we share. And Sarah and Jason, thank you both very much. Really good information. Very much appreciate everyone's support and participation today. So thank you, everyone, and be safe and be well. Thank you.
Take care.